So, down in Rutherford County, Tennessee, there's a mayor named Joe Carr. And depending on who you ask, he's either a fiscal hero or a power-hungry politician. There's really no in between. Let's get into how one man's leadership has split an entire community right down the middle. So, if you listen to Mayor Carr himself, the story is pretty clear. It's a tale of fiscal triumph. He'll tell you he came into office, found a massive $64 million deficit, and completely turned things around. We're talking balanced budgets, top-tier credit ratings, the whole shebang. But, as you can see, that's just one side of the coin. The other side, it's filled with some pretty intense political drama. I mean, we're talking about a formal censure from his own commission, a mayoral veto, which almost never happens, and even a full-blown ethics investigation. So what is really going on in Rutherford County? All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with the big money rule he lives by, then see how that rule got a little complicated. We'll look at the power struggles, that whole ethics mess, and wrap it all up with the two very different pictures people have of this one leader. Okay, so first things first, to understand any of this, you have to understand the mayor's #1 guiding principle when it comes to money. And that principle revolves around something called the fund balance. Now, don't let the name fool you, it's pretty simple. Think of it as the county's savings account. It's that one-time money you stash away for a rainy day, right? For when your expenses are suddenly way more than your income. And Mayor Carr has a very, very firm rule about this. As he puts it, you never use one-time money to pay for a recurring expense. He says it's just a horrible idea. And, the logic makes sense, right? You don't pay your monthly mortgage with your one-time tax refund, because what happens when that refund is gone? You're in trouble. So it's a solid principle. But like any rule, it's all about how you apply it. And folks, this is where things get interesting. This is where the whole conflict really catches fire. Check this out. This is the real head-scratcher for a lot of people. The mayor was crystal clear. Using the savings account, that fund balance for county employee raises, a horrible idea, a big no. But then he turned around and proposed using that very same money for a brand new $14 to $15 million forensic center. Suddenly, it was a big yes. And that, as you can imagine, raised some eyebrows. Commissioner Craig Harris asked the question that was probably on a lot of people's minds. Wait a minute. A new building is great, but don't you have to pay the doctors, the medical examiners, the staff every single year? Isn't that a recurring expense? Okay, so this whole thing quickly spiraled beyond just a debate about budgets. It became about power, about procedure, and accusations started flying that this was part of a larger pattern of the mayor just doing things his own way, bypassing the rules. And you can really see this in two key moments. First, back in September 2024, the commission actually censured him. That's a huge deal. They did it because he signed a big contract before the purchasing committee even got to approve it. Then, fast forward to 2026, he uses his veto power, which is pretty rare, to block the commissioners from being able to appoint their own people to the ethics committee. He called it an unlawful power grab by them. Well, all this tension and these accusations eventually boiled over. It led to formal ethics complaints being filed against the mayor himself. And the investigation that followed had an outcome that, well, people are still debating. And these weren't small things either. The complaints accused him of trying to influence an ethics committee vote by talking to a member just minutes before a hearing. And another one claimed he was using county employees to do work for his private business. So the district attorney's office investigated all this. And their official finding? No probable cause. Basically, they concluded there wasn't enough to move forward with a criminal case. Now, this is a really important point. No probable cause is a legal term, and it has a very specific meaning. It doesn't mean innocent. It means there wasn't sufficient evidence to meet the high bar needed to prosecute a criminal case. So while he was cleared legally, in the court of public opinion, the debate was far from over. So when you put all these pieces together, what are you left with? You're left with a county that's completely divided, looking at two totally different portraits of the same leader. In one portrait, you have Mayor Carr the Reformer. He's the guy who conquered that massive deficit, got those AAA bond ratings, and delivered real balanced budgets. He's the champion of fiscal responsibility. But in the other portrait, you have an autocrat, a leader who critics say applies his own rules whenever it suits him, who bypasses committees and uses his power to shut down his opponents, dismissing them as just playing politics. And that's really the core of it, isn't it? It leaves us with this big, fundamental question. And it's not just for the people of Rutherford County, it's for any of us. When a leader's promises and principles seem to clash with their actions, how are we, the citizens, supposed to measure what success actually looks like?